Does anyone remember agar.io? Like, actually remember this game? Because for a little while, this was one of those games that felt like everybody was playing. You would be in school, bored on a computer, and somehow somebody would find this random website where you were just a circle eating other circles. And then next thing you know, the whole class was playing it. No download, no account, no tutorial. You just clicked play and got thrown into a lobby with a bunch of other people trying to eat you. And somehow, this extremely simple browser game became one of the biggest games on the internet. But now, nobody really talks about it anymore. So what happened to agar.io? So, for anyone who somehow missed this era of the internet, agar.io was basically survival of the biggest. You started off as this tiny little cell. You moved around the map eating these little pellets. The more pellets you ate, the bigger you got. And once you were big enough, you could start eating other players. But that was the whole thing. That was basically the game. You eat smaller players, you run away from bigger players, and then eventually, you get greedy, make one bad move, and lose everything. That was the cycle. And I know it sounds boring when you explain it out loud, but when you were actually playing it, it was weirdly addicting. Because every time you died, you were like, okay, that was stupid. One more game. And then that one more game turned into like 40 more minutes. I think the reason agar.io worked so well is because it came out at the perfect time. This was back when browser games still had the magic to them. You didn't need a console, you didn't need a crazy PC, you didn't need to install a 90 gigabyte update before you could play. You just typed in the website and you were in the game. That was it. And that mattered a lot. Because especially if you were in school or bored at home or on some random computer, agar.io was just easy to play. It was simple enough that anybody could understand it in like 10 seconds. But it also had just enough strategy to make you feel like you were actually getting better. You had splitting, you had teaming, you had ejecting mass. You had those little green viruses that could either save you or completely ruin your day, and every round felt different. Sometimes you would spawn in and get eaten instantly. Sometimes you would somehow survive for 20 minutes and become huge. And that was the fun of it. It felt random, but not completely random. It felt like you could always do better next time. But the craziest part is that agar.io did not come from some giant studio. It was created by a Brazilian developer named Mateus Valadares.
Mateus Valadares.
And the game launched in 2015. And once it hit the internet, it spread fast. Like, really fast. This was one of those games where all it took was one person sending the link. Then another person played it. Then their friends played it. Then YouTubers found it. And once YouTube got involved, it was basically over. PewDiePie played it. Markiplier played it. Jacksepticeye played it. A bunch of the big gaming channels at the time made videos on it. And that pushed the game even further. Because agar.io was perfect YouTube content. It was simple. It was chaotic. It was easy to understand even if you never had played it before. And the best part was that funny moments happened naturally. Somebody would chase you across the whole map. You would barely escape. Then 2 seconds later, some giant player would come out of nowhere and eat both of you. That was the whole appeal. It was stupid, but in the best way. And honestly, agar.io feels like it belongs to a very specific version of the internet. That mid-2010s era where random games could just explode overnight. You had Happy Wheels, you had Five Nights at Freddy's, you had Minecraft everywhere. You had browser games, flash games, random IO games. It felt like a game didn't need to be perfect. It just needed one good idea. And agar.io had that. You were a circle, you ate other circles, that was enough. But for me, one of the biggest memories from agar.io isn't even just the game, it's the music that came with it. Like, if you watched one of those old agar.io videos back then, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. That upbeat electronic music, the montage edits, the split kills, the huge cells flying across the screen, and one artist I always connect with that era is OMFG, especially songs like Hello. That song and the whole style of music just feels like old agar.io YouTube. I don't even know how to explain it, but when I hear that type of music, I instantly think of those old videos. The colorful thumbnails, the crazy titles, the gameplay where someone would split across the whole screen and somehow eat like 5 people at once. It just has that sound, that random, colorful 2015 YouTube gaming sound, and I feel like every big internet game has something like that. Minecraft had its parody songs, Call of Duty had its montage music, and agar.io had that OMFG style electronic music that made every clip feel way more intense than it actually was. Because let's be real, it was literally circles just eating circles. But with that music in the background, it felt like the most hype thing in the world. And that's what I miss about that era. Everything felt simple, but somehow it felt bigger than it was. Agar.io was just a website. OMFG was just the music people used in the background. But together, it created that weird memory that a lot of people still have stuck in their head. But obviously, once a game gets that popular, problems start showing up. And agar.io definitely had its problems. The biggest one was probably teaming. That game was supposed to be every player for themselves. But eventually, people started teaming up. You would have 2 or 3 huge players working together, feeding each other mass, trapping smaller players, and basically ruining the whole lobby. And if you were playing solo, it was kind of annoying. Because what are you supposed to do against that? You're just trying to survive, and there's a whole squad of circles moving like they're in a ranked tournament. Then there were bots. And to be clear, I'm not saying the developers officially added AI NPC players or anything like that, but player-made bots and scripts became a real thing. People would use programs to control extra cells, farm mass, flood servers, or just make lobbies feel weird. And if you ever played agar.io and thought, bro, there is no way all of these people are real, you probably weren't the only one thinking that. Some players even believed certain lobbies had fake-looking players just to make the game feel more active. But that part is more rumor than confirmed fact. What we do know is that bots and scripts were absolutely a thing. And once a simple game starts feeling unfair, people stop having fun pretty fast. Another thing that hurt agar.io was that it kind of created its own competition. After agar.io blew up, everybody wanted the next IO game. So then came slither.io, then diep.io, then paper.io, then whole.io. Some of them were actually really good. So agar.io went from being the game everybody was playing to just being one of many games like it. And that matters, because internet trends move fast. One month, everybody is playing agar.io, then suddenly, everybody is playing slither.io. Then something else comes out, and before you know it, the game that felt massive starts feeling like old news. But here's the thing. Agar.io didn't really die. It's still online. You can still play it. There are still people in lobbies. There are still people who know exactly what they're doing. And honestly, Loading into it now feels kind of weird. It's like going back to an old place you used to hang out at. Everything looks familiar. The map, the pellets, the cells, the leaderboard. But it doesn't feel the same. Not because the game is completely different, but because the internet around it is different. Back then, agar.io felt like something everybody discovered at the same time. Now it feels more like a leftover piece of that era. It's still there, but the moment has passed. I don't think agar.io was the greatest game ever made. I don't even know if I would say it's one of the best browser games ever, but I do think it was one of the most memorable. Because it was simple, it was easy to play, and for a short amount of time, it felt like the entire internet was playing it together. That's what made it special. Not the graphics, not the updates, not some deep story. Just the fact that you can open up a website, become a little circle, climb the leaderboard, and somehow lose an entire afternoon. And maybe that's why people still remember it. Because agar.io was not just a game. It was one of those random internet things that everybody experienced at the same time. And then one day, we all just kind of moved on. So yeah, that's what happened to agar.io. What random nostalgic games do you have on your mind? Because I would love to make this a whole series. And if you can, please subscribe to see more content like this.